I'm excited thinking about stepping into that stadium on Sunday, seeing Steeler Nation, understanding what home field football is about.
It's week 2 of the NFL season. It's the home opener, and we are ready.
Throws it for the goal line. Touchdown!
We got Kansas City coming to our house. We know them, and they know us.
Oh, it's caught!
It comes down to who wants it more. Steelers Nation, here we go.
Tonight on the Mike Tomlin Show, Coach calls on Steelers Nation to give Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes his first proper road game experience at Heinz Field. TJ Watt went beast mode in Cleveland again. I ask him what is it about playing the Browns? And we'll get the best sights and sounds from the season opener. All of that and more. The Mike Tomlin Show starts right now.
Here we go. This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit that sack. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
The Mike Tomlin Show is presented by 84 Lumber.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of the Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. I don't know about you, but I've never been so conflicted after the result of a Steelers game. Should I be happy or disappointed? Tie football games are rare, and especially for the Steelers, as they haven't tied since 2002 against the Falcons, then led by Michael Vick. There was a lot from the season opener in Cleveland for the Steelers to hang their hat on, but just as much to be concerned with. That seems pretty fitting for a game that ended in a draw. So let's head over to Bob Pompiani, who's with Coach, to get the good, bad, and ugly from the Steelers' Week 1 performance.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. It's kind of rare to talk about a tie, Coach. We haven't seen one around here since 2002, and on opening weekend since 1971. You said after the game it's kind of hard to express your thoughts following something like that. What are they now?
Very much the same, I guess my thoughts and feelings are probably indicative of a tie. There's some things about the game that were really good and encouraging. There were some things about the game that were somewhat catastrophic. And it's important this time of year that we learn lessons, that we glean information from these experiences. And one thing that we've learned, obviously, from that performance is the turnover element of play dictates the outcome of games. It has and always will, regardless of circumstance. You can talk about the weather conditions being a factor in that regard, but Cleveland didn't turn the ball over. So when I talk about the turnover element of the game, I'm talking about on both sides. We got to do a better job of maintaining possession of the ball and getting the ball to change that turnover ratio.
James Conner got his first NFL start, and overall 192 yards in the run and pass game, but there was the critical turnover. And I'm sure he's thinking more about that than what he did. But your assessment of what he did?
I thought he played winning football in a lot of ways. Obviously, that turnover is big, and you can't take it back. You can't try to seek comfort in quantifying it in some way. But he's a pro in that way. He's a mentally tough kid, and he'll make the necessary adjustments. Pleased with his performance, not surprised by it. It's really kind of a representative sample of what he's been like throughout this process, whether it's on the practice fields of Latrobe or in preseason stadiums. So I don't think any of us were surprised by his output.
I thought overall defensively, they were put in a bad situation with the strip sack fumble, which was returned to the one, and that's hard for any defense to get out of. But overall, they seem to have played pretty good winning football. How do you categorize, especially some of the young guys you have in the secondary?
I thought we were very competitive in the secondary. You oftentimes can just look at a stat sheet and look at the number of pass breakups and speak to the competitiveness of the coverage or the tightness of the coverage. We had a lot of plays back there. Joe Hayden made a significant breakup down the field. Mike Hilton had several. Cam Sutton stepped in for Joe and got challenged some, gave up a couple balls, but made a few plays of his own, made a significant breakup, had a big interception. Sean Davis was around the ball some. The design quarterback runs or the quarterback runs by scramble, I think, is an area that we need to continue to focus our growth on. Tyrod's mobility was a significant factor in the game. We knew it prior to the game. It still played out that way, and it can't play out that way. When you got known issues, you really got to work to minimize them more significantly than we did his legs in that game.
One final thing, and that was just some replay, which I didn't understand. To the naked eye, there was a punt that hit Nick Chubb, it appeared. It changed direction. Everybody seemed to think that, but the replay seemed not to confirm that. Were you surprised by that?
Surprised is an understatement. I was shocked by it because I was shocked for the same reasons that everybody in the general vicinity was shocked, because those of us that were on the field, we saw the ball hit the guy. It's really discouraging when you're in a game circumstance and you know something happened and then you get told it didn't. But such is life in football and competitive sports, and so that's what I talk to the guys about, and that's an opportunity for us to grow and to manage the highs and lows that occur in games, some of which are outside of our control.
Next up, Kansas City Chiefs, it's the home opener. When we come back, Mike Tomlin will talk about the challenge that is Kansas City and a pretty prolific offense it appears. That's coming up in a bit. Missy, back to you.
Thanks, Bob. And as for the result of that video review, I'm going to side with Coach on that one. Coming up right after the break, 3 sacks, 11 tackles, and a blocked field goal. Just another day at the office for outside linebacker TJ Watt.
I'm pumped to play with the guys again on a big stage and just go out there and pour my heart out for Steeler Nation.
The Steelers' official mobile app brings your game day experience to a whole new level. The app features a new game center full of stats, drive charts, and video highlights. Following the game, watch live press conferences and video interviews. Download the Steelers' official mobile app for free today.
We are inside UPMC McGee Women's Hospital, where the newest members of Steelers Nation are getting a chance to meet the Steelers rookie class. Come on inside and meet our new little friends. Here you're the baby whisperer. How does that work?
I try to get the babies to stop crying. Mason and I, we've been over here talking to them a little bit, trying to sing little lullabies and everything.
How cool is it to see that literally babies in Pittsburgh are born into Steelers fandom?
That's amazing, just seeing them all saying it's my rookie season on their chest, seeing them with the football caps on and everything. It's amazing.
For fans who made it to training camp in Latrobe, Pennsylvania earlier this summer, they never had a chance to see outside linebacker TJ Watt practice with his team. The budding superstar spent all of camp and the preseason rehabbing a hamstring injury, missing out on those valuable reps and playing time that a second-year player typically needs. But last week, and much like last year's season opener in Cleveland, Watt looked like he was fired out of a cannon as he dominated the line of scrimmage. Last year's first-round draft pick finished 2017 third on the team with 7 sacks, and now he has a league-leading 3 sacks going into week 2. His production in Cleveland is mind-boggling, so I had to ask the man himself what the heck is going on.
TJ, you here now. We're here now. Good work, baby. Let's go.
Week 1 versus Cleveland in Cleveland. 2017, 6 tackles.
TJ Watt again is there waiting for him.
2 sacks.
Kaiser and goes down courtesy of TJ Watt.
Interception.
Intercepted on a leaping interception by TJ Watt.
TJ Watt makes an unbelievably athletic move to catch that ball.
What did Mike Tomlin say yesterday? Every coach should have a Watt on his team.
2018, 11 tackles.
Picking up traffic is Carlos Hyde, and the traffic is TJ Watt.
3 sacks.
He's hit and downed inside the 5-yard line by TJ Watt.
Blocked a potential game-winning field goal. Is it the Browns? Is it Cleveland? Is it week 1? Where are these monster games coming from?
I think it's a little bit of week 1, if any of those. I didn't get to play all preseason. Was just so eager to get out in the field and show people what I can do on the new side, playing left side. I was just so pumped to play with the guys again on a big stage and just go out there and pour my heart out for Steeler Nation.
What was the key to getting to the quarterback for you?
I think it was just the Russian coverage. I think we talk about that all the time, but we were clicking through a lot of parts of the game with our coverage in the back end. Those guys were like, every time we turn around, you guys are having a party in the backfield. And we were doing really well with our rush lanes. Coach Dunbar has been a great addition to the team. We've done a lot more pass rush stuff throughout the preseason, so I think that's helped us as well.
Are people making too much of you and Bud switching sides?
Yeah, way too much. At the end of the day, we're football players. We've played linebacker for quite some time now, and it's not always. Once I got to the NFL, is when we were only on one side. In college, I played both sides, so it's not like we're reinventing the wheel here. It's just playing on a different side, and it's just a comfortability thing. And he likes the right, I like the left.
Why do you like the left more?
I'm right-hand dominant. It's more natural for me. I can do more moves than I can from the left side than on the right.
And it's a 43-yard effort. The kick is on its way. It's blocked! And the Steelers come up big with a special teams play as they get through there and block this 43-yard field goal. T.J. Watt was involved in the play.
The block field goal. Take me through what you saw and what was happening in that moment.
Trying to make a play. Just when it comes down to that, you know the conditions aren't great, and you know that it's going to be a tough field goal for them to make, and we got a few seconds left in the game. You want to pour it all out there, just try to get as low as possible, get a deep push, and just get your hands up. And sure enough, it hit my hand. So it was a good feeling.
You blocked one last year against Tennessee. Did you do that in college too?
No, I was just telling someone they didn't have me on field goal block in college.
Really?
I always wanted to because JJ always got blocks, and I was always jealous. So it's cool to be on it now.
There's plenty more coming up on the Mike Tomlin Show. Up next, Coach breaks down Kansas City's two biggest offensive weapons, Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. Don't go anywhere.
Heinz Field, baby, let's go.
This fall, we're hosting a few get-togethers at Heinz Field.
Touchdown, Antonio Brown. How did he do that? Here's a big rush, and that is Cam Hayward with yet another.
Come on by and join 68,000 of your closest friends.
Touchdown, Juju Smith-Schuster. The Steelers win the football game, and what a game.
For ticket information, visit Steelers.com. The Mike Tomlin Show is presented by 84 Lumber.
Well, you don't typically hear the word rivalry when discussing the matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs, but tomorrow will mark the 6th time the Steelers and the Chiefs have faced off in the past 5 seasons. That's a lot of games against a non-division team, and as we all know, familiarity breeds contempt. There is one variable in this particular matchup, however, as the Chiefs will be led by a new quarterback for the first time since 2013. Alex Smith was traded to the Redskins, and Kansas City's 2017 first-round pick, Patrick Mahomes, has officially taken the reins as the signal caller. Let's head back over to Bob and Coach, who break down what's familiar and what's different with the AFC West leader.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. This week, it's the Kansas City Chiefs coming to Pittsburgh, home opener. Two of the longtime veteran coaches, Mike Tomlin and Andy Reid. You've seen him on a number of occasions, and he just keeps on keeping on, doesn't he?
Man, boy, we used to have some tremendous battles back when we were both in the NFC. His group was in Philadelphia. I was in Tampa. It seemed like all the playoff roads always ended up in Philadelphia in some form or fashion. So we've played him a lot here recently, in recent years, and been in some significant games, playoff caliber, atmosphere-like games. So we got a lot of shared history. It's going to be a big game, and it's going to be significant because of that familiarity. But they also present some new challenges, man. It's ever changing. I know we're spending time looking at Eric Bieniemy and as their new offensive coordinator, how he makes them different. There's some personnel differences. We're playing without Ryan Shazier, who's been a significant component in this matchup the last 3 or so times we played him. They're playing without Derek Johnson, who was a mainstay in the middle of their defense for over a decade. And so they're playing in a matchup without a central component. It's always interesting, the changes that occur over the course of seasons in football and how that affects familiar opponents in the relationship and the matchup. And we have one of those type matchups here.
You got a first-year quarterback who made his first start last week, and I think everybody knows that Pat Mahomes can, heave the ball down the field. He's got a very good arm, but 4 touchdowns in his debut. Just talk about what he presents as a challenge, not just with his arm, but with his legs.
This guy, he had an opportunity to work under Alex Smith for a year. He's got arm strength, that's unique. He can make all the throws on the field. He's probably different than Alex Smith in that way. Equal mobility. I think Alex Smith's mobility was always underrated. This guy can run, but I always thought that Alex Smith could run, and we were always prepared to deal with it and work to minimize that element of play. So I think the arm strength is the biggest significant physical difference. I'm not overstating the lack of experience or exposure. He's a sharp kid. We interviewed him in the draft process. He's been in Kansas City for over a year. I assume working extremely hard and preparing for these opportunities that he's getting right now.
And he has some really good weapons we saw last week. Here's an interesting stat about Tyreek Hill. He's played in only, I think, 32 games, and he has 13 touchdowns of 50 yards or more. You never see that kind. I think that goes back to Gale Sayers' kind of, productivity. What is about him so special, and what do you got to watch?
It's really quite simple. He is probably the most dynamic return man on the planet right now. I think the significant thing about Tyreek and getting to meet him last year at the Pro Bowl and watching him on Kansas City tape is his development in the pure wide receiver things now. He'll run a post or run a go and catch a ball over your head, and those are the more recent contributions to that film reel you're talking about. When he was a young guy, it was all returns or reverses and things of that nature. Now you're seeing more traditional wide receiver things on that reel. He caught a slant and went 58 yards last week, for example. So I got respect for what's going on with him. I realize his big play capabilities. We got to work to minimize that, but we better be open to him growing in very normal, traditional ways and impacting the game in that way too, which is what he did last week.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic matchup on Sunday at Heinz Field. You also have Travis Kelce, who was really not a factor last week, but he will be, normally is against.
Absolutely.
And of course the Steelers run the ball real well historically against, so I'm sure there's going to be all hands on deck in every department here, to use your phrase. I like that phrase, by the way. I think that sums up a lot of things. Anyway, when we come back, we'll talk about Mike Tomlin's reaction to Week 1 at home and what Steeler Nation should be providing. That's coming up a little bit later. Missy, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. If you're lucky enough to be heading to the game tomorrow, get there early. There's tons of events that will be happening in and around the stadium leading up to kickoff. What a great day to be on the North Shore. Right after the break, we go field level for the best sights and sounds from the season opener in Cleveland.
Y'all know the saying, man. Sit back and enjoy the show. Stay tuned, baby.
The league considers rule changes annually. We want to keep the game competitively fair, and we just want to make the game as safe as we can make it. Recently, we expanded the horse collar tackle rule to not only include inside the collar, but outside the collar. Guys were being injured, so we expanded that rule. You talk to the players about why the rule is being changed, but then you also talk to your coaches about how it might change our instruction. The game is evolving, and it's evolving for the better.
There was a reason they were undefeated. They knew how to win. It's a tough visit for the Pittsburgh Steelers, always has been.
Out of all my years in the National Football League, there is no outdoor venue that is as loud as Arrowhead.
That's a deafening sound in that stadium. But on that 3rd and 2, Ben made sure, A, that he went to his bread and butter guy, and B, Antonio accepts all gifts. And when the safety didn't quite control the ball off his hands and helmet, Antonio did.
He has tremendous concentration. When the game is on the line, it is natural for him. Catches it and never loses a stride, and it's 6.
Last weekend leading up to kickoff, the remnants of Tropical Storm Gordon left Northeast Ohio drenched and with gusty winds, football weather. Let's retake the bus ride up the turnpike to First Energy Stadium, where our cameras captured the experience through the best sights and sounds of the game. Check it out.
Welcome to Cleveland and to the start of the 2018 NFL season.
And look, we got Steelers brown weather. Well, here we are, and it's reality from the lakefront. It'll rain a lot harder later in this contest, and it's the Cleveland Browns, and this is not your father's edition of the Cleveland Browns.
The kid is back. Let's have a great time, baby.
Back to football, baby, week 1. Y'all know the same, man. Sit back and enjoy the show.
I'm ready for the James Conner era. I am excited about this young man. It is a great story. I watched the way he works. I love the way James Conner runs. It is quick. It is hard. He's got great vision.
Conner to the end zone for his first NFL touchdown.
Walking into the end zone for his first touchdown of the season, James Conner, the second-year running back out of Pitt. And he hands it off. No, he fakes a handoff and slant over the middle. It's caught on the dead run. Juju, what a quick pop from Ben to Juju.
Inside slant, and he's off to the races.
Throws the back shoulder fade. And in the end zone, Antonio Brown hauls it in.
And once again, A.B. shows why he's the best receiver in the NFL. He adjusts to the ball, flying through the air. Great catch, both feet inbounds.
This is Conner again. Conner breaking free. The 5. Touchdown.
That is James Conner again. Zigging and zagging. 10-5 touchdown. Pittsburgh Steelers. A 22-yarder for Conner. He's hit and sacked. Wow. He came out of nowhere.
Taylor running out of time, and he goes down again. Once again, T.J. Watt. There have been times today T.J. Watt has been unblockable.
And the Steelers are praying for a miss. The kick is on its way. It's blocked. And the Steelers come up big with a special teams play. And we have a tie in Cleveland, and I'm sure all the fans here will celebrate.
Well, that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the Mike Tomlin Show presented by 84 Lumber. But before we say goodnight, let's get some final thoughts from the head coach.
All right, Missy, here it is. Home opening action coming up with Kansas City coming to Pittsburgh. Big AFC meeting. And, Mike, you've been here for 12 years now. So does this ever get old?
Absolutely not. I'm excited thinking about stepping into that stadium on Sunday, seeing Steeler Nation, understanding what home field football is about and getting a chance to feel that and getting a chance to maybe present that to Mahomes. You know, we mentioned a young, talented quarterback. He did well in the road environment last week, but that was a unique road environment. That L.A. Charger road environment in that soccer stadium, be interesting to see their level of communication and comfort. They were able to use the hard count in some last week and things of that nature. Man, Heinz Field is going to be a very different environment. I'm excited about seeing it.
That's one of the things and one of the big advantages about playing at home at Heinz Field. Young quarterbacks especially have a hard time, and hopefully that'll be the case this week. Mike, thanks very much. All the best. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, Coach Mike Tomlin and the Mike Tomlin Show, and that's going to do it for Missy Matthews and Coach T. I'm Bob Pompiani. We'll see you tomorrow on KDKA. Our pregame show begins at 11:30 a.m., and the game follows at 1. Thanks for joining us, and have a great football weekend.